What is up, wrestling fans? This is Kayfabe Chronicles, and I'm your host, JP, coming to you with a quick audio-style commentary. SummerSlam was last night, and it clocked in at a whopping 6.5 hours, including the pre-show. And yes, I watched all of it. Now, this got me thinking. With rumors that WWE is looking to expand Monday Night Raw to 5 hours in the new calendar year, even though the fan base feels that the current 3 hours is way too much, is bigger always better when it comes to wrestling? Now, the common consensus at the moment would be no. The biggest complaint I hear mostly from the community is that there is currently too much wrestling. At the moment, Monday Night Raw clocks in at 3 hours, SmackDown Live is 2, plus another hour show of 2:05 right after the show, which sadly doesn't get much viewership because the people are so wiped after the 2-hour SmackDown show. NXT follows on Wednesday for another hour, and then every month we have a live event that is anywhere from 3 hours plus. Not to mention the Big Four, which all clock in at over 6 hours now. Throw in some extra network specials, i.e. the Royal Rumble event in Saudi Arabia and the upcoming Super Show in Australia. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the fact that there are all these events and shows. It gives me something to look forward to. My concern, though, is the actual amount of pure wrestling content there is, and proper builds and utilization of time. SummerSlam had 13 matches. 13 matches! That's an average of 2.5 every hour, give or take. And that is if it was only wrestling. No promos, no entrances, no interviews, nothing. I understand that WWE wants to get as much talent onto the show as possible, but by doing this, a lot of the matches become lost in the shuffle in regards to build and delivery, and in some instances, the matches that do have a great story and hype get pushed aside to squash matches to allow more time for other angles. A prime example would be the Undertaker-John Cena match at WrestleMania, and of course the KO Braun Strowman match from last night's SummerSlam. Proper build with a minimal payoff. It's kind of like a double-edged sword. You could say that by having a longer show that gives you more time to build the stories properly and get the crowd invested, but you also got to understand that by having more choice and variety can also dilute the final product by having too much to choose from. Take NXT as a prime example. Event after event, they prove that they can get the audience and keep them invested in a minimal time span. I can't even remember a TakeOver event that I was not excited for every single match. And remember, keep in mind that NXT only has 1 hour every week to build these feud stories and get the crowd invested. Yes, they have a smaller roster, and yes, they don't have an event every single month like the main roster does, but I believe they are a prime example of what can be done if you utilize your time. Now, on the other side of this, take a promotion like New Japan. You want to talk about a long-ass event? Watch Wrestle Kingdom. Watch Dominion. These shows clock in at astronomical times, but the main difference between them and WWE is that you don't feel like they do. You don't look at your watch, you don't wonder when it's going to end because the wrestling speaks for itself. Granted, I don't follow it that often, and I'm not sure what kind of feuds or stories there are at the moment. Outside of the G1 and Kenny Omega, I really don't know what's going on in New Japan, but I enjoy it because the wrestling is good. This is an occasion where they don't need to have flashy stories and angles to get the crowd invested. They just put on great matches. Every time I watch a New Japan match, doesn't matter who's involved, I enjoy the crap out of the match because the wrestling speaks for itself. WWE sadly cannot do this because the style is different. They depend on these angles to get the crowd invested. You can sit down and watch a New Japan match and be enjoyed, but sadly WWE or even Impact shows need to add that storyline factor for people to enjoy the match. Now with this, WWE has really pushed themselves into a corner. They have such a large roster that sadly, not everyone is going to make these shows. Look at last night's SummerSlam, for example. No Asuka, no Bayley, no Sasha, no Usos, no Naomi, amongst many others. All these wrestlers are more than capable of having good matches. It's just unfortunate that at the moment there's nothing for them, and sadly there isn't enough time or space to show everybody off. Now, I know what you're thinking, that's pretty hypocritical considering that this is an article of the negatives of having a long show. And you're right. But there are benefits to both if they are done correctly. By having a longer show, it does open up new storylines involving different people that you may not have seen before. It spices it all up a little bit. But remember, if you're going to have a long show, you need to keep it interesting the entire time, and the crowd has to stay invested, and they will come back. Ultimately, I know WWE has the power to make a dual roster work, and have all the events be a good length, but still keep focus. Does this mean trimming the roster? Possibly. Does this mean adjusting the format to make both shows show their talent properly? Most likely. Am I going to keep watching? Of course. I'm a fan, and nothing will ever change that. The sports entertainment world is constantly changing, and this is just a phase during its long history of success. Now, does it get boring? Of course it does, but the positives outweigh the negatives. I do leave a majority of the events feeling good inside, so they are doing something right. They're just going to have to find a way to cater to everyone, I guess. Now, does this mean that the long shows are going to continue? Most likely, but I know that eventually they are going to work out the kinks and everybody is going to leave happy. Now, with that being said, though, is having the long events going to be the final answer? Who knows? Only time will tell. I just know the WWE is headed in the right direction. Now, with this dual brand split, who knows what's going to happen? Are they going to put everybody back onto one show again? I have no clue. But as of right now, I am very, 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 very happy with the product. So with that being said, if you guys like what you saw and if you guys like what you heard, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Click that bell notification for whenever we post great new videos. This is JP from Kayfabe Chronicles, and I will see you guys next time.